One of the United States ammunition producers has officially filed for Chapter 11, signaling a major crack in the foundation of the firearms supply chain. At the same time, a low-cost handgun manufacturer has completely gone dark, while across Europe, one of the continent's largest primer suppliers is preparing to shut down for good. Are we staring down the barrel of a massive ammo supply breakdown, one that could empty store shelves and send the price of a single 9mm cartridge soaring past $10? In this report, we'll unpack the root causes behind the industry's struggles, reveal just how brittle the distribution system really is, and offer some crucial steps that well-informed Second Amendment defenders should consider right now. You'll see hard figures pulled directly from bankruptcy cases. We'll also break down how a 35% import tax can cripple a foreign primer plant, and why the sudden silence at your local range is a much bigger red flag than anything. Cable news is spinning. We're rolling it back to the ammunition crisis of 2013 that followed the Sandy Hook tragedy, and the unprecedented run on bullets during the 2020 pandemic lockdowns and civil unrest. Now we'll contrast those historic panics with today's slower, stealthier squeeze. Stick around as we go over how to build a smart stockpile, spot early indicators of another primer shortage, and why readiness starts with mindset, not just how many mags you've got loaded. This chain reaction started when Specialty Cartridge Incorporated entered Chapter 11 proceedings in federal court down in Georgia on May the 7th. Their financials tell a harsh story. Assets valued somewhere between $10 million and $50 million, but liabilities nearing $10 million. That margin evaporated fast once the cost of primer compounds, cartridge brass, and propellants started to spike. Their ammo division, Atlanta Arms, wasn't some basement reload operation. They produced match-grade rounds used by United States Practical Shooting Association competitors and police departments alike, shipping out pallets of 9mm every week. But with raw material costs shooting up and consumer demand pulling back, the pressure closed in fast. Unpaid bills began stacking up. Fiocchi of America is allegedly owed more than $400,000. And other vendors like Whelan Metals aren't far behind. What's the takeaway here? Even medium-sized outfits can get crushed when shooters ease off the trigger and prices start climbing too steeply. Around the same time that court paperwork was being filed, communication went completely dark at SCCY Firearms down in Florida. Gun dealers needing replacement parts for their CPX series pistols got nothing but robotic replies. Emails bounced back. On Reddit, some federal firearms license holders were claiming SCCY's FFL had been yanked, and that unpaid taxes had led to government seizures. A few even shared photos of official court notices taped to the front of the company's headquarters. SCCY was once known for offering the most affordable 9mm pocket pistol in the country, colorful, compact, and cheaper than even a High Point by about $20. New gun owners scooped them up in bulk. But beneath the glossy ads, quality control issues were piling up. Even so, they managed to move tens of thousands of units. That kind of production needs a consistent stream of powder, primers, and operating capital. When all three ran dry, so did their future. Nowadays, you'll be hard-pressed to pawn one, and some range safety officers would rather bet on a worn-out High Point. Meanwhile, over in the Lone Star State, Watchtower Firearms tried to get ahead of disaster by filing for Chapter 11 before things got worse. Known for crafting high-end AR-style rifles, they even landed a deal to provide 15-inch patrol carbines to the Lafayette Police Department. Their CEO, former Marine Jason Kowski, called it strategic restructuring. Wages continued to be paid, and new bolt-action models were unveiled at SHOT Show. But court filings told the real story. Steep interest from previous buyout debt, especially after acquiring F1 firearms back in 2023. Precision parts and exotic coatings only pay off at high volume. When inflation froze government budgets, their projections unraveled. When you look at all this together, one thing becomes clear. Gun and ammunition companies, focused on the civilian market, are struggling to stay afloat when supply costs remain high and buyer demand slumps. Back in 2020, ammo pallets were sold before they even left the plant. Today, every dollar spent on cartridges is competing with rent and food. Factories built on yesterday's optimism are now drowning in today's economic reality. And this isn't just an American issue. Over in Bosnia, the global primer producer Gen X has announced it's shutting down operations. Why? A crushing 35% import tariff on every shipment headed for the United States. Most American hand loaders never even heard of them, but their primer components were a major part of our domestic reloading ecosystem. Estimates say that close to 40% of all primers used in this country come from overseas. When one of those suppliers goes down, it leaves a serious dent in supply. Manufacturers in the United States are already maxed out, running 3 shifts just to keep up. But you can't build a primer plant overnight. These facilities require specialized machinery, dangerous materials, and months, if not years of setup. Tariff programs like Section 301 and Section 232 began hammering the supply chain as early as 2018. That's when copper, lead, and zinc prices jumped, pulling brass costs along with them. Chinese manufacturers, who once provided inexpensive jacket materials for bulk ammo, got priced out when duties reached 15 to 25%. For a while, importers tried to eat the cost. But then container shipping rates skyrocketed, port congestion kicked in, and retaliatory fees followed. As a result, many smaller shops started postponing orders. Prices went up. Gun owners started feeling the pinch. At the worst point, that cheap 9mm box that used to cost $11 jumped past $15. Even military contractors were forced to renegotiate deals, and the Pentagon adjusted their contracts to keep pace with rising material costs. Training got scaled back. Budgets got slashed. But none of that helped the neighborhood range owner who just wanted to keep his weekly pistol league alive. Compare this to the panic of 2013. That crisis hit fast and hard. The Sandy Hook shooting drove a massive media blitz, and shelves were emptied in days. Cartridges that used to sell for 29 cents were going for $1 apiece. Polymer magazines became unicorns. Gun shows looked like auctions. Scalpers made a killing. Those of us who lived through it learned one thing: always keep a full year's worth of training ammo ready or prepare to spend your spring dry firing in the basement. Then came the 2020 chaos. With political tensions, nationwide lockdowns, and riots converging all at once, demand went nuclear. Jason Hornady said March alone shattered every company record. Vista Outdoors logged more than $1 billion in back orders. Primer costs for small-time reloaders spiked from $16 per thousand to over $100, and that's if you could even find any. COVID restrictions split factory crews. Cardboard for packaging dried up, and even laundry services for press uniforms shut down. Gun owners responded the way they always do, by stockpiling. Over 7 million first-time buyers flooded the market, each needing hundreds of rounds just to get familiar. Supply chains never really caught up. From all this, 2 lessons stand out. First, ammo shortages usually start with raw materials and policy, not just fear. Second, once panic hits, it spreads faster than any manufacturer can compensate for. What we're facing now is a strange hybrid. Materials are still expensive. Tariffs are still biting. And we just lost another overseas primer facility. Yet most shooters aren't panic buying, at least. Not yet. So production hasn't ramped up like it did during the height of 2020 and 2021. Things seem stable on the surface, but underneath, the margin for error has never been thinner. Let's take a moment to look back at the ammo panic of the year 2013. That shortage didn't build over time. It hit like a freight train. After the Sandy Hook tragedy, the media went into overdrive, and within a matter of weeks, gun store shelves were stripped bare. Cartridges that used to cost under 30 cents a pop were suddenly going for a full $1. Polymer magazines disappeared overnight. Gun shows turned into bidding wars, and the folks who stocked up early made triple their money, flipping ammunition to desperate buyers. For those of us who were around back then, the lesson was clear. Keep at least a full year's worth of training rounds tucked away. Or spend your next spring clicking empty chambers and dry firing in the basement. Fast forward to the year 2020, and that wave of panic buying came roaring back. It started with election chaos, grew with the stay-at-home orders, and boiled over when civil unrest took hold. That March, Jason Hornady didn't mince words. He said his company saw the highest demand in its history. Vista Outdoors logged more than $1 billion in outstanding orders. Primer prices for independent reloaders skyrocketed from $16 per thousand to well over $100, if you could even find them. Social distancing thinned factory crews. Cardboard for packaging became scarce, and even laundry companies that kept presses clean had to shut their doors. Gun owners responded the only way they knew how, by stacking cases of ammunition, the way others were hoarding toilet paper. More than 7 million new buyers joined the gun-owning crowd, each one burning through a few hundred rounds just to get the hang of their new sidearm. The supply chain never had a chance to catch its breath. Those two ammo panics taught us a couple of hard truths. First, real shortages usually don't come from consumer frenzy alone. They start with raw material problems, international policy shifts, or shutdowns at key manufacturing plants. Second, once panic kicks in, the buying wave moves way faster than any factory can respond to. And right now, we're seeing shades of both. The cost of brass, powder, and primers is still too high. Tariffs on foreign imports are still biting deep, and with a major overseas primer factory recently shutting down, supply has taken another hit. The kicker? Most shooters aren't panic buying yet, so the factories aren't in crisis mode or running overtime shifts. On the surface, everything looks fine, but underneath, there's less margin for error than we had back in the ammo surge of 2020 and 2021. And it wouldn't take much to ignite another run, maybe a geopolitical flashpoint, or some fresh anti-Second Amendment push here at home. In fact, we're already seeing early warning signs. Wholesalers are now putting in back orders on old-school calibers, like .30-30 Winchester, which used to sit on shelves for months. Reloaders are scrambling to grab whatever small rifle primers they can find. Some are taking home open boxes from behind the counter. Manufacturers working on lead-free primer formulas are stuck between rising material costs and looming environmental regulations. Truth is, lead styphnate still gets the job done and costs less. Automation and artificial intelligence might help someday, but right now, your average small to mid-size ammo shop can't retool quickly enough. A lot of them might fold before they even have the chance, shrinking the industry as a whole. At the same time, niche rifle builders who rely on just one ammo partner are getting a rude awakening. If those suppliers can't deliver proof loads on time, nothing gets out the door. Jeff Hoffman, the founder of Black Hills Ammunition, once said that proofing rounds are about responsibility, not profit. So when even the most trusted names in the game are having trouble filling those orders due to parts shortages and shipping delays, the whole ecosystem starts to feel the pinch. And when everyday Americans are stretched thin from rising gas prices and expensive grocery bills, something has to give. For a lot of folks, that means skipping their weekend range trip. Fewer shooters at the lanes means lower demand. That pushes shops to cut ammo orders. Wholesalers scale back their purchases. Factories respond by slowing production. But the cost of keeping those machines running doesn't go down. So when a mid-size ammo operation is only moving a fraction of its normal inventory, but still burning through the same high-cost components and overhead, things start to unravel quick. You don't need to look far for proof. Specialty Cartridge already filed their Chapter 11. That's not a rumor. That's federal court. Here's the kicker. A sluggish ammo market can be just as dangerous as a full-blown buying frenzy. When store shelves look well-stocked, people get complacent. But behind the scenes, manufacturers still have to keep the lights on, pay their crews, and service equipment loans. Without steady sales, that gets tough. If we lose just a couple of medium-sized ammo companies in quick succession, the whole system loses surge capacity right when we'd need it most. That's exactly why the shutdown of Gen X over in Bosnia isn't just some foreign headline. It's a red flag for a worldwide supply chain that's already stretched thin thanks to global conflicts, government policies, and green regulations. And here's what history shows us: the first signs of trouble don't usually show up as price spikes. Instead, you might notice your favorite online retailer quietly removing the backorder option, or your local firearms trainer asking students to bring fewer rounds because the regional distributor is out. By the time the average weekend shooter catches on, bricks of small pistol primers are hidden behind the counter at $150, if you're lucky enough to find them at all. And once that tipping point hits, the internet isn't going to blame tariffs or international trade battles. Instead, the blame game will fall on hoarders, conspiracy theories, or imaginary government warehouses. But those of us who've seen this before, we know the truth. It's not just about how much supply is out there, it's that production can't ramp up fast enough to match sudden demand. So what can the everyday gun owner do, the guy or gal who just wants to shoot a couple boxes this weekend without blowing through their grocery budget? First, get a real count of your stash. How many rounds of your carry load are you sitting on? Could you go a full 12 months without resupplying? How about your training ammo? If the answer's no, don't wait for the panic to start. Ease into it now. Start picking up small amounts on a regular basis. Focus on popular chamberings. Rimfire is finally back in stock and affordable, so grab a few bricks of 22 long rifle while you still can. Pick up a couple extra mags, and maybe a replacement recoil spring for your everyday carry. Not the new model everyone's hyping online, but the one that rides in your holster right now. Magazines are always among the first casualties when new laws pass, and they're one of the cheapest insurance policies a gun owner can have. Support the American companies that are still showing up and doing it right. Their prices might be a little higher, sure, but they're keeping folks employed, honoring service requests, and actually picking up the phone when you call. If you're choosing between sketchy import ammo and a trusted domestic brand, the same kind that loaded your granddad's hunting rounds, go with the American box every time. Keep an eye on what's happening in the primer world. When new capacity opens up, prices come down. But when a plant shuts down, prices shoot up immediately. Even if you're not hand loading right now, stocking a few bricks of primers gives you a head start if you decide to roll your own someday. Powder and projectiles bounce back fast, but those tiny metal primer cups, that's still the weak link in the chain. Above all, keep a level head. Our firearms community has weathered bans, pandemics, civil unrest, global trade fights, and even a shortage of cardboard boxes. The Second Amendment isn't just a piece of legislation, it's a mindset. But that means being proactive, not just reactive. Manufacturers running tight budgets can't withstand every disruption, and when they fall, you'll feel it at the register long before it hits the headlines. Right now, the signs are everywhere. Bankrupt companies, unanswered emails, shuttered primer plants, and inflationary aftershocks from years-old tariffs. There may not be one single trigger, but together, they build the kind of environment where another ammo crunch can take hold fast. So stay prepared, stay informed, stock up smart, not in a panic, but with a plan. The next wave will come. That's not a guess, it's a guarantee based on history. And the folks who use this quiet time to get squared away, they'll be at the range, mags loaded, while everyone else is asking where all the ammunition went. Shops are closing down, customer service lines are going dark, primer inventories are thinning out. International tariffs are still putting pressure on every crate that hits our ports. The clock is ticking, but the history is clear. The people who stay ready don't have to get ready. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think we're staring down another ammunition shortage like we saw in 2020? Or will domestic makers manage to hold the line? What caliber are you stocking up on first? Share your tips, drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and keep your gear clean, loaded, and ready for whatever's coming next.